The Toronto Maple Leafs just scored an empty netter, so I'm just going to jump right into this now, even though there's still time, but we're down 3-0. Come on, guys. And I, for the most part, don't really even want to talk about the intricacies of the game or the goals that Toronto scored, but it was an Eric Furlatt game. I don't know why any of us are surprised that all of that insanity happened. Are you kidding me? Like, take the Leafs and the Leafs fandom, and they're often, I don't want to use this lightly, but they play the victim a lot when it comes to NHL reffing and all that jazz. But did they just, no, Hill made the save. The calls that happened were not good. The refs did a very poor job this game. And the problem that I have is it was fair on both sides, because like nothing was called. And although Vegas had 3 power plays to Toronto's 1, it was the very evenly called game, and the fact that what they weren't calling. However, if you want justice in an NHL game, no, throw that out the window. They're not calling the rule book, which leads heavily into it being entertainment instead of sport, which was something that the Steve Dangle Sports Network, the podcast network, they talked about on one of their most recent podcasts. And I 100% agree with that, and that is completely because this reffing crew just did not do a adequate job. There was first the not boarding on Shea Theodore from Gurbankin, who did not score in his NHL debut a goal, even though he had an opportunity to. Hill laid a monster save on him, although Gurbankin just kind of also ran into him. Yeah, so it's over, 3-0, Leafs win. Leafs fans, a lot of Leafs fans on social media were saying that Theodore turned, and he did, he turned, but it wasn't because he saw a hit and thought, I'm gonna turn. It was because Gurbankin is trying to use a defensive stick while skating towards Theodore to block a passing lane. And then after Theodore turns, Gurbankin changes it into a hit. He converts what he was doing into a hit, lays a hit on the numbers into Theodore's back, sends him into the boards, draws blood. He has a giant wound in abrasion in his forehead. And Theodore played, he was fine. He came back, but that wasn't great. That should have been boarding. Theodore is not blameless. He turned, but it wasn't because he saw a hit that he turned. He turned because he saw defensive stick taking away a passing lane, so let me gather the puck and try to change my angle to be able to get a better pass into the situation. And this is in the dying minute of the first, and up to that point we were already down 1-0 because of an NHL first career goal, but it wasn't from Gurbankin, it was from Fraser Minton. And this, one thing that I noticed early throughout the game was defensive sticks on both ends were phenomenal. And the goalies, I thought, both played really solid games, even though it was a 3-0, shutout for Joseph Woll. That being said, it's defensive six, great from Vegas, specifically breaking up plays from Nylander and, Toronto's top guys, but that doesn't last, because on this play where Nylander goes behind the net, he draws 3 Vegas Golden Knights puck watching him do this, and the Nylander sends a pass through 2 of those Golden Knights up to Fraser Minton, who's coming in from the high slot to play, and as a trailer kind of, but it's a setup play, and he rips it and it goes past Hill and it's 1-0. Then the thing on Theodore happens, and then the next thing happens, which is in the second period, a big hit from Zach Whitecloud. When I initially saw it, I thought, ooh, that's super clean, that's a hit, that's good, and Vegas is going to get a power play because Benoit went after Whitecloud and wrestled him to the ground, and that's not good, especially if it was a clean hit. And then I saw a couple of replays, and one replay, I'm like, oh, that's head contact, and Zach Whitecloud leaves his feet, which would make it not a clean hit. From another angle that they played after that, it looked like Zach Whitecloud got Matthew Nyes like here, and I don't really know how the same exact hit can look like both a headshot and not a headshot. And of course, Leafs fans, and I'm not blaming them because, this is like narratives and social media and all this jazz, are only focusing on the one that looks like a headshot. Whereas for me, because in the other angle, it didn't necessarily look like, you can't have a hit that looks like one and also doesn't look like one actively, not like where you miss it from that angle, but like it does not look like it. It looks like he hit shoulder and then Nye's head goes into Whitecloud. But if you have that hit, and from those both angles, from my, I'm not trying to be a homer here. I objectively to look at the hit without looking at the jerseys, and that's what I see. And if you like get a clearer angle, what I really want is like a top down angle, or from like the other, from straight on, like, I don't know. But we don't have that. We have the two where it looks like it is and looks like it isn't. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a fan. I don't know. And this is another thing that the SDPN said in one of their most recent podcasts, is that I would love for there to be these videos that come out about hits that were suspensions, and suspension were these stuff that happens in a game, and where they explain what the infraction was, they go through why it was, and why it's a suspension. I want them to take hits like this, where it wasn't even a penalty. And who knows, Zach Whitecloud might get suspended for it, but I think that that would be wrong, because and I saw Leafs fans comparing this to the Reeves hit and saying that the only difference between these two hits is that one's in a Leaf sweater and one's not. No, absolutely, or one's happening to the Leaf. No, I seriously 100% doubt anyone could objectively say that the hit that Ryan Reeves laid on Darnell Nurse is the exact same as what Whitecloud did to Nyes. Reeves literally only hits head. Only hits Darnell Nurse's head. You can see it do a complete 180 degree, like completely, it's disgusting. Is there head contact? Yes. Is it the principal point of contact, an initial point? I don't think so, but I don't know. And I'm assuming the NHL has better angles than they showed on the broadcast, but like, how am I supposed to know that, I guess? If they were to take a video and explain why that wasn't a suspension, a clean hit, and what was good, even though it was borderline, just to clarify, to allow fans to be on the same page with all this stuff, because we can all agree that the NHL Department of Player Safety is a complete joke, and it's run by people that were not, like, the cleanest of players. I sympathize with Leafs fans who saw the one angle, ran with it, and was like, oh, how's this? But like, honestly, you gotta admit that it's not the same as the Ryan Reeves hit. There's absolutely no way that you see what Whitecloud did and see 5-game suspension without the Reeves hit on the weekend, because no. And honestly, the Reeves hit probably should have been a longer suspension. Not because he's a Leaf. I sold my Leafs jersey, but it's not because I dislike the Leafs. I really actually love that jersey, and I really want to buy a different version of it back. I just needed to get a different player. Like, I don't dislike the Leafs, but Leafs fans tend to whine a lot, and it gets the most traction because they are the largest fan base. And they have this victim mentality because they haven't won since the 1960s. And I'm not trying to take shots right now. I'm literally trying to see like what I'm seeing around on social media. And I disagree. And I'm trying to be as polite and not offensive as possible with all of this, and not also trying to not be a homer with it. And then, because both teams and both fan bases felt like they were wronged by the refs up to this point after those two instances. And so when it goes insane afterwards for the rest of the second period, both fan bases feel justified by their team doing whatever to the opponent. And that is completely not okay. There's one opportunity where there was some rough stuff where Tavares and OEL both went after Howden and Holtz, and they both all four got kicked off, which I think is a trade that Vegas would take, taking Tavares and OEL, who's been a solid defenseman, out for Howden, who has been solid but recently has kind of fallen off of his streak, and Alexander Holtz. Yeah, like, I think Vegas makes that trade 9 out of 10 times. The one time being if any of them were injured to change the narrative. Anyway. And then there was a hit that Benoit laid on Tanner Pearson that was a big clean hit, but Tanner Pearson took exception to that. And then Braden McNabb also took exception to that and laid a hit on Benoit where the puck was there, but it was called for interference. I don't really know. Benoit was, like, he was getting control of the puck when that hit was laid. It was a big hit and Benoit was kind of laying down. So it was, I don't understand. Vegas does a really good job on the kill, especially because Aiden Hill was really solid on that kill. He made fantastic saves. And then there's one where the puck goes out of the defensive zone for Vegas, and Brett Howden takes it and he's off to the races, and he's got 2 with him, and the Leafs are coming back, and then Petro, for some reason, flies up the ice to the point where he's trying to be a trailer, but you guys are down a man, and you need a goal, yes, but that's not the time to take it. There's still most of the third period left to play, and of course, if Howden misses this, or the puck comes back, you've got 1 guy back with 3 potential Maple Leafs to have to defend against, and that's not gonna happen. And that's exactly what happens, because Howden takes the shot or whatever, and then it doesn't work, but Toronto goes the other way, and they've got a 2-on-1, and who even scored it? Hold on. William Nylander. Yeah, no, he's not gonna miss that. And so it's a power play goal for Toronto, but like, no, it was a stupid defensive play on the penalty kill from Petro, first of all, because there's no reason he should have been that far up the ice. He was caught flat-foot. He was literally at the goal net. You have 3 guys close to the opposing goal when there's enough Leafs to battle them, which leaves 2 guys back with 1 guy playing defense, and that's just not gonna work. And so Nylander buries it. It's 2-0 Vegas, and at that point, especially with how the game's gone to this point, I'm just like, yeah, no. Do I think Vegas can come back? Yeah, definitely, 100%, would not, without a doubt. Do I think that they will? And that's not because Vegas is a bad team or right now, whatever. It's just, there's something off, and it's largely, in my opinion, due to Stone being out of the lineup. And yes, Olofsson's also injured, and yet, like, we have other injuries throughout. Haig is out and all this jazz, but in general, if you look at since Stone's injury, which has been the last 6 games to this point, we're 1-2 and lost 4. But the 2 that we won, you cannot convince me that it wasn't because of the Father's Day trip, or not Father's Day, but the dad's trip. That magic that happens on that trip propelled them to come back against Utah and to have a decent game against Anaheim. But it's Anaheim, and we barely won. And that, like, I just don't understand why this narrative that Vegas is purposely sitting Stone so that we can add players that can't do what he does and have them in the play. Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. We are literally trying to keep our head above water right now. And yeah, our record to start was awesome, so it doesn't look like it that far in the standings, but if you have been watching this team at all, in like these last games, you would know that not having Stone is extremely detrimental to our on-ice product. And the fact that Bruce Cassidy had to switch up lines nearly as much as he has today in this game alone is because what we had, which was a solid lineup without 1 player, completely throws off everything else, especially because he's our first line right wing captain. Guys, I'm nervous. I need Stone healthy, and then to come back into the lineup, because this team is going to struggle without him. Toronto got an empty netter because Bruce Cassidy, with the puck stopped, so we had an offensive zone draw, and there was over 3 minutes left, and yes, we're down by 2, but I don't think that that's the time to pull the goalie, because you want to get possession first, and then, which we did, we won the face-off, and we got initial possession, but Theodore bobbled the puck on the blue line a couple of times, which led Toronto to start playing a little bit more at the line, which meant when you tried to pass it around the line, they got a stick on it, got it to go out, and Mitch Marner buried it. Pontus Holmberg, one of the assists was Marner, but I don't know what Vegas is doing here. I think I really am not, like, I really hope Matthew Nyes didn't return to the game, and I really hope that he's okay and it was just precautionary, especially because they were up, and that he's fine and can come back, and because that's not good. I don't want anybody to be injured at all. That being said, I am on the side, it's like I'm 60-40 that hit was clean from White Cloud. That was unfortunate for Nyes, and he did have his head down, which I don't understand how you can say Theodore needs to know better than to turn his back to a hit, which wasn't looking like a hit, because again, he was leaning down with a stick, trying to make it block his passing lane, which was good from Grbinkin. And at the same time, not say that Nyes needs to keep his head up. It's the exact same phrase. If you think one more than the other, then you're a homer. It's in my opinion the same thing. And that doesn't mean that the penalty should be the same either, because what Grbinkin did to Theodore was a penalty, whereas if I think that the hit was clean, Nyes needs to keep his head up, then that's still clean. It's not a penalty anyway. Jack Eichel loses his point streak. It was at 6 games because, again, no. And Joseph Woll, the last thing I'm going to say, he played a really good game. It wasn't fantastic. I don't think he made any spectacular saves. High danger chances favored Toronto, even though we were out shooting them, because A, the lanes were completely blocked up by only their players, or Vegas would fire it directly into the chest of our own players, which isn't, I don't know. Toronto did a really good defensive job of blocking lanes and breaking up passes and blocking shots without screening your goalie, because Woll saw basically everything that was thrown at him. We didn't get very many rebound attempts or chances, and so it is what it is. This is the first half of a back-to-back. We go to play Ottawa tomorrow, and it's gonna be Samsonov and net against Linus Ullmark, who has some beef with each other with the Boston-Toronto stuff, I guess. But Ottawa's been struggling this year, and so you really hope Vegas can come out on top tomorrow if you're a Vegas fan. And I guess if you're Toronto, you're now rooting for Ottawa, which has gotta be weird, right? I really don't hold any ill will against any Toronto fans. I do think we can agree that Furlatt and the refs could let this game get out of control, and it was not one-sided. That's, I think, the one part that we're going to disagree on, but whatever. You can't have a physical game and not expect the other team to start being more physical. But again, it's Toronto, and they're used to the inverse of that, like there being a physical game against them and them not stepping up. So I'm not blaming Toronto fans for that. That's their team's fault for letting them believe that you can be as physical as you want and not expect anybody else to step up physically on the other. Anyway, I had a game 3 years ago that I just titled Furlatt, and it was against the Blues. That's probably Furlatt, the sequel. But that's gonna be it for today's Game 20s Nightly Review. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.